Prime Minister's questions.
Member for Bartara Sanwan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In light of the U.S. firm White & Case LLP being retained by the government as a result of the disqualification of sequel law in the Miami case number 04-11813 CA30, will the Prime Minister advise the total fees paid to White & Case LLP?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as you are aware, Prime Minister's questions come a few minutes before the sitting. I do not have these details at this time, nor am I aware that this matter has been fully settled yet. I would suggest to the member to pose the question in normal manner as a question on notice, at which time the information can be provided.
Supplemental member.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, can the Prime Minister indicate whether or not any retainer fee was paid in this matter?
I repeat my previous answer. This question only came a few minutes ago. I am not privy to these details. If the member would pose the question in the normal manner as a question on notice, full details and a proper comprehensive answer will be given.
Member for Oropuchis.
Thank you very much. Is the acting Prime Minister saying that you did not have enough time to phone the relevant minister or department to get an answer to a simple question?
I believe I've answered the question.
Member for Napurimo.
Prime Minister stated that he's not properly briefed, and the question is, why are you here answering Prime Minister's question?
Again, would not entertain that question. Member for Oropuchis.
Thank you very much. Can the Prime Minister state whether he is aware at all that a company by the name of White & Case replaced Secret Law in a Miami matter involving Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, thank you. Again, based on the initial question, I would not entertain that question. Bartara Sanwan, next question.
Thank you very much. Will the Prime Minister advise under what legal authority is the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government acting as a client representative for Trinidad and Tobago after the disqualification of the Attorney General from the Miami case?
Honourable Prime Minister.
This is permissible under the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Supplemental.
Can the Prime Minister, the acting Prime Minister, indicate when the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government was allocated the portfolio of the Attorney General in this matter?
Until West, which is not parliamentary.
No. Again, honourable members, the question has been posted. Right? I have to decide whether it is that the question will be put forward or entertained. I need no assistance from members on both sides as we proceed. And again, hold on, members. It's very early in the sitting. We haven't passed 10 minutes as yet, so please. I would not entertain the question. Oropuch East, next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I'll try my best to lower the temperature. Today, you see, I try my best, and this parrot mouth in front of me is making noise. Could you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, could you please speak to these children in front of me?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, we will not sit here and be insulted by the member for Oropouche East. Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. We will not be insulted by the member for Oropouche East.
Now, members, firstly, member for Laventille West, I would like you to retract this statement. Member for Laventille West, retract the statement.
Which one, Mr. Deputy Speaker?
Member for Laventille West, kindly retract the statement made.
Indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I retract the statement that he is the
Thank
police
you,
officer.
thank you. Member for Oropouche East, retract the statement that you also made before we can proceed.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I retract the statement calling member
No. Just retract. Thank you. Right. So could we now, again, so members, all the statements being made of whether who is what and who is not what, as the presiding officer this evening, I will make the necessary decisions as to how we shall proceed. Right? And you all have started it. I will ensure that I end it. So, Oropouche East, question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Prime Minister, in light of your earlier response, could you indicate the provisions in the Constitution that provide for the appointment of a client representative in the person of the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government?
Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. This is permissible under sections 76, 78, and 79 of the Constitution, and there is precedent in the records for this matter going as far back as the 1981 to 1986 period.
Supplemental, Oropouche East.
Prime Minister, could you indicate whether or not there has been any portfolio realignment between the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs and the Ministry of Rural Development?
I will not entertain that question. Member for Barataria Sanwan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Will the Prime Minister state whether U.S. law enforcement authorities have launched an investigation into the Attorney General in relation to the affidavit of Mr. Reginald Amo, SC, filed in the Miami case?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I am not aware of any such investigation.
Member for Barataria Sanwan, question 4.
Will the Prime Minister advise if the Attorney General disclosed his conflict of interest in relation to the Miami case to the Cabinet?
Honourable Prime Minister.
The deliberations of Cabinet are confidential.
Supplemental, member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, bearing in mind previous revelations on recusal of ministers in the Cabinet on various issues, is the Prime Minister saying on this matter the government will remain secret?
Honourable Prime Minister.
As I indicated, the deliberations of Cabinet are confidential.
Supplemental.
Can the Prime Minister confirm whether or not the Attorney General disclosed this conflict of interest to the Prime Minister before his appointment as Attorney General?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I do not have any such knowledge.
Supplemental. Barataria.
Based on the international embarrassment this matter has caused Trinidad and Tobago, is the Prime Minister in a position to state whether or not the Attorney General will be tendering his resignation as the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago?
Question does not arise. Member for Point Appear.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. To the Prime Minister.
Will the Prime Minister state whether the Naikwan plant will be restarted this week or any time thereof within the next month?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. I'm advised that on the 14th of April, 2022, Naikwan was given approval by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries for the reintroduction of natural gas to the facility for the primary purpose of lighting the flare pilot burners and producing medium pressure steam utilizing the auxiliary boilers for cleaning lines following the shutdown of the facility after the incident in April of 2021. Approval was also given by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries on the 3rd of June 2022 for introduction of fuel gas only for the reformer burners for conducting refractory dry out. Naikwan Energy Trinidad Limited, by letter, request dated June the 1st, 2022, requested the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries for approval to start commissioning activities. This request is for one stage of the process, from the reformer to the suction of the synthesis gas compressor. This activity includes gas pretreatment, which is desulfurization, steam methane reforming, reformed gas waste heat recovery, and the CO2 compressor and recycle system. On receipt of this approval from the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, the duration of the commissioning is expected to take about 1 month to complete, with approval requested in stages from the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. Approval for commencing entry of processed gas has not yet been granted by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries.
Supplemental point of view.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Based on what you just reported, could you state, given that we had a blast a year ago or more at the plant, could EMA given clearance to have any sort of activity being commissioned at the plant to date?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I don't have those details. I would suggest you pose that question in a normal manner as a question on notice, and a full comprehensive answer will be given by the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Supplemental point of view.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Prime Minister, you know these questions come to you at least an hour before, so there's ample notice that you would have gotten. But my supplemental question is that now that there's some activity at the plant to be started up, and no meetings have been held with the surrounding community to give them the comfort that once the plant has started activity, that the safety issues would be alleviated and they could feel comfort.
Minister.
In the first instance, let me correct the record. There is absolutely no mention of the EMA in the question, and therefore, not being a psychic or a seerman in local parlance, it was not possible to anticipate that the Honourable Member would ask about the Environmental Management Authority. With respect to the other matters, from what I'm seeing here, they are testing the facility, and I'm certain that proper communication will be made with the community upon full startup.
Member for Point of View.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Prime Minister, when the blast happened at the Naikwan plant, an investigation report would have taken place, and those findings were supposed to be laid in Parliament. Could the Prime Minister state when those findings of the investigative report of the blast would be laid to the public and Parliament?
Okay, I would not be able to entertain that question, Member. Member for Naparima.
Will the Prime Minister state the reasons for the Royal Caribbean Cruise Group's job application recruitment drive was so heavily and massively oversubscribed?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In the first instance, the question contains some exaggeration. It is my information, I have been so advised, that just about 4,000 persons showed up seeking 2,000 job opportunities. So I do not think that it is accurate to say that it was massively oversubscribed. That is not unusual, that if jobs are available, that twice the amount of persons seeking the job opportunities would apply for the jobs. I also want to point out, and I want to congratulate the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts for making these opportunities available to citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. For those of us who have been following global events, one of the first industries that was closed down as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic was the cruise tourism industry. So this is an industry where persons have been out of work for quite a while, and also the opportunity for new entrants into the cruise tourism industry was severely curtailed and was in fact non-existent for a very long time. These are good jobs. They are foreign exchange earning jobs. There is consistent and tremendous training within this employment opportunity. And I am just happy, as acting Prime Minister, I am happy that 2,000 of our citizens can now get access to these good jobs.
Supplemental, Member for Naprima.
Given that the minister said that it is a global phenomenon, does he think that the massive oversubscription would have taken place in well-run countries like Finland, Singapore, Barbados, or Guyana?
And that's your question.
Firstly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, from my 30-odd years experience in this parliament, it is improper to ask a minister for his opinion. I simply wish to say, again, that the use of the terminology massively oversubscribed is incorrect. There were twice as many applicants as there were jobs. And it is a tremendous accomplishment of the Ministry of Tourism and of this government that we could make available 2,000 well-paid, sustainable jobs to our citizens.
Member for Naprima.
Is the Prime Minister aware, or what are his views, that the youth of Trinidad and Tobago, seeing the hopelessness of this administration, are trying to run away from Trinidad and Tobago by any means necessary?
Again. Please, members. Member for Point of Peer.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Could the Prime Minister state the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, or the group, paid for the use of Napa and Sapa facilities?
Again, based on the initial question and the answer given by the Prime Minister, I would not be able to entertain that particular question. Member for Caroni Central.
Minister, given that 100 days have passed since the tragic death of the 4 commercial divers, will the Prime Minister inform this House when the first meeting of the Commission of Inquiry is scheduled to be held?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I must express some surprise at this question. In this Parliament, when I was acting as Minister of Energy, I gave an answer, which I will read into the record again. The commissioners were sworn in on April 22nd, 2022, and the commission took effect from that day. Since the commissioners were sworn in, steps have been taken and are being taken to put the administrative infrastructure of the Commission in place, including the establishment of the Secretariat for the Commission to commence its hearings. I gave that answer in this House. The Commissioners are currently involved in the pre-hearing stage of the inquiry, which is also known as the investigative stage. During this stage, the relevant evidence is obtained and identified, and the relevant witness statements are prepared. The investigative stage of the inquiry is regarded as the lifeblood of the inquiry, and prepares the way forward for the evidential stage of the inquiry, at which witnesses would be called to give evidence. And this is the salient point. This has been said before in this place and also in the other place in response to a matter on the motion for the adjournment in the Senate just last week. These are the facts, which are well known to members opposite. The procedural hearing of the Commission is proposed to be held in August of 2022. We are in June. After the procedural hearing stage of the inquiry is concluded, an announcement will be made by the commissioners as to the proposed commencement date of the evidential stage of the inquiry.
Currently Central, next question.
To the Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister state whether a final decision has been made in respect of the sale and or lease of the Garcara refinery to a consortium of foreign investors?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you. As indicated previously, of the 3 final bids received for the sale or lease of the refinery, a preferred bidder has been identified. Trinidad Petroleum and its advisors are now engaging in final due diligence, conversations with the preferred bidder, and also engaging in continued negotiations with the preferred bidder. Upon the satisfactory completion of these conversations and discussions, an official letter of award will be issued to the preferred bidder outlining the timeline and scope of their exclusivity period. We expect this diligence process to be completed within the month of June 2022. Once a formal letter of award has been issued, we will be in a position to officially publicly announce the identity of the preferred bidder and the nature of their bid. During the exclusivity period, the preferred bidder will be in direct negotiations with Trinidad Petroleum, its advisors, and the government with respect to an agreement for the purchase or lease of the refinery.
Member for Caroni Central.
Can the Prime Minister indicate out of these 3 bidders, was Patriotic Technologies one of these bidders?
Honourable Prime Minister.
As I indicated, once a formal letter of award has been issued, we will be in a position to officially publicly announce the identity of the preferred bidder. I'd prefer not to say any more at this stage because negotiations are continuing.
Member for Naprima.
Given us assurance to the national population that we will not witness a repeat of the Trinidad Tesoro scandal, where our assets were given for $50,000 US.
Again, based on the initial question and based on the answer, I would not entertain. Supplemental point of here.
Could the Prime Minister state what team is evaluating these bids? Is it the Cabinet or is it another consultant?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Trinidad Petroleum has its in-house team and external consultants. The corporation sole will be required to give the final approval because this falls within the ambit of disposal of public property. So that has not got to the corporation sole yet to make his deliberations as to whether this should be allowed to proceed. But that's the process. Trinidad Petroleum, using its in-house team, its external consultants, will continue the discussions and then make a recommendation to corporation sole for the disposal of this asset.
Member for Urupuchis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker. Will the Prime Minister update this House on the report into the collapse of a section of the highway on the Mosquito Creek, and what actions have been taken to repair the faulty works?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I am advised that investigations are continuing on this matter. It would therefore be premature at this stage to give any detailed information. However, I would suggest to the member that he pose the question on notice so that a comprehensive reply can be given.
Member for Urupuchis.
Thank you very much. In light of the response, Prime Minister, have you been advised as to when this investigation is likely to be completed?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I am fairly confident it will be completed within the next 2 months or so.
Clerk.
Urgent question.